Hey, what's going on, guys? Another segment here of Pitching Talks. We're going to talk about routines today. First and foremost, I apologize if my voice sounds a little crackly, if that's a word. Been sick. I know. I feel like I want to say I don't get sick all too often. My mom would probably disagree. Hopefully you guys don't ask her. But anyways, besides the point, I want to talk about routines. The reason being is obviously it's as ball players, as athletes. I mean, for me, as even just as a human being, I believe that routines are essential to maximizing your everyday life, maximizing what you can do throughout, each 24 hours that you get in a day. And I think for those of you guys who've been following me for a while know that I'm a huge advocate of routines. I have a routine for literally everything. And the reason why I wanted to dive further into this topic is because I get a ton of questions, and they're not bad. I don't want to discourage you guys from asking me questions, but questions regarding, hey, Robby, like, what is your routine on this day, or what does this look like on yours? And I'll tell everyone, that my routine is my routine, and I'm not trying to say that to say like, hey, back off, it's mine. I'm saying that because the protocols that I have in place for myself are designed specifically for me and my needs. Now, I would be doing a disservice to you guys who ask those questions if I were to just to say, hey, here's what I do. This is going to be 120%, going to work for you as well. That's not often the case. Now, maybe a few things as far as routines go, that will work. For example, like my mobility ebook, those are just a bunch of things that I do mobility-wise that I believe, can benefit a vast majority of people, But as far as like routines, getting ready for a start, like, hey, I throw this amount and then I do this on this day, and then on my bullpen day I throw this amount and I do that, like to the finest detail. I have certain routines set in place, literally to the finest detail, that may be way too extreme for somebody else, or maybe not enough for somebody else, or blah 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 blah, right? I think everyone has different needs. Talking specifically kind of like baseball players and pitchers alike, we all have different needs and what we need, and that changes, and that's why I believe like you can't just say, okay, I'm going to use his routine. Now, the thing that I don't want to kind of get across here is I don't want to like give them or have you guys perceive me saying that don't look at other people's, like, what they're doing, how they go about their work, because the reason why I have a routine set in place and specific protocols set in place is literally like watching other people around me. Like, I've been very blessed in my career to have gotten to play with a lot of, really talented individuals, and just watching them and seeing like what they have in place and, throughout their week. And it kind of gives me that motive of like, wow, he's doing this, maybe I can implement this in my routine and then see how like I respond to it. So I hope that makes sense, because I don't want to discourage you guys from like watching other people in a sense of, that's how you learn. But I messed up my bulleted points here, so I'm actually going to start. I'm going to start at number 2, even though I probably already discussed all that. So, like I said, it's designed for you and your needs. This is going to be like any routine. I don't want to throw any examples out, but any routine is specifically designed for you and what you need. And with that being said, like that should go hand in hand with developing that routine, right? So like knowing what your deficiencies are and setting certain protocols in place that will better equip you to turning those weaknesses into, potential strengths. So back up to this first bulleted point is like, now develop your routine, right? We know that routines are good and we know to have those set in place and blah, blah, blah. Now, I think the big disconnect that we could potentially see here and I fell victim of this too when I was younger, is being a slave to your routine. What do I mean by that? So, for example, when I was younger, my first couple years in pro ball, I had like this specific routine before I started, and I would do this, I'd do that, I'd make sure to do this for this amount of minutes and that for that amount of throws, and this stretch for this many seconds, and literally to a T. And I quickly learned in pro ball that there's just going to be a lot of like on the fly adjustments. It's just the way it works. I think sometimes is sometimes you're forced to kind of adjust quickly, and it took me, kind of for a loop, in a sense that like I guess I wasn't like mentally strong enough to be like, okay, like even though I didn't have time to long toss because of rain or whatever, I'm still going to be able to go out and perform really well. Like I kind of took it as like, oh crap, something in my routine's off. Now I'm going to suck, and it's more of like a mental component thing to it. So that's why I encourage guys is like develop a routine. We know that they're good. I'm obviously a huge proponent of it, but at the same time, be able to adjust on the fly. Don't be a slave to your routine. Don't have to, don't only think you're going to do good if you do everything in your routine, because sometimes in this game things happen. What I love about routines, man, is it creates good habits. Now I know how hard habits are to form. I know there's like a scientific thing behind it as far as it takes X amount of weeks or X amount of days to actually instill a habit. And the reason why I love routines is because maybe if at first you develop a routine that has certain protocols in place that are designed to better your deficiencies and work on the things that you're not as good at, or if it's a mobility thing, work on the areas of your body that you're not mobile. That's all good creation of habit, because we know that anytime that you're not good at something or you suck at something, you don't really want to do it. Again, I'll speak from personal experiences, like with my mobility stuff. I developed a mobility routine, and I was probably the last guy on earth that you would think would be able to move the way that I do now. It's just because like I knew as soon as I woke up, like it took 10, 15, 20 minutes of just rolling over on the floor and doing certain things, like just grinding through it. And the next thing you know, it's like, man, this is fun. Like I'm seeing, anytime you see like the progression of it, it becomes, more fun, and you kind of long to do it more. So that's why I love routines, and I think that's why I always encourage guys to develop those. Obviously, this is a very broad topic, right? I mean, this is pitching talk, so kind of looking at it through a lens from the pitching side is like, starters have their own routine, but that doesn't necessarily mean that bullpen guys can't have their own routine. Just to give you guys a few examples, I know you guys love hearing about like routines as a pitcher. And the biggest thing that I want to be sure to elaborate on is like routines. It's not just one of those things where you develop it one day on paper and then it's stuck and it's that, and you have to do that. You have to abide by that. Routines are literally throw it up against the wall, like see if it sticks, see how your arm responds to certain things, and go from there. Take stuff out, put stuff in, trial and error, man. That's literally like the name of the game for me, at least personally, when it comes to my development of routines. Is like I want to be sure, like, okay, like do I respond well to this? I'm going to give it a week or two, and then and see how I'm performing, see how I'm recovering, and see how I feel every morning. Like there's certain indicators that you can always go to give yourself that answer, right? So for example, starting routine, like I won't go into too much detail, but like say you're a starter and you're on a 5-day, so you start and then your routine starts as soon as like Skip pulls you out of that game, right? For me, it's like I'm getting out of that game as a starter, I'm going in, I'm sitting down, I'm going to take like 30 minutes to hang with the boys, chit chat, talk about it, talk to my catcher, talk to my pitching coach, shake hands, whatever it is. And then as soon as that's kind of over, like I'm going into the clubhouse, I'm going to try to do a little bit of stuff as far as like bands, maybe a little like reverse throw stuff, just super light. And then I'm trying to like calm my central nervous system down to a point where like I'm journaling, I'm making sure that I'm mindful of like the things that happen in the game that I can do a better job of. And it's one of those things too, and I learned this later in my career, is like, yeah, in the moment we're always thinking about, oh, I could have done that, but say in your next bullpen you can maybe forget about it. So I'm always an encourager of writing those things down, writing the things that you could have done better down, writing that specific at bat that you got, you know, you lost feel or you thought you should have attacked it a little bit better. Write that stuff down. That reminds me, Joe Maroney, CEO of Always Grind 365, he's got game logs for pitchers and hitters. I will include that in the website of this post. So therobbyrowshow.com/routines. Be sure to go check that out. You can find a discount to these game logs, but it's just a great tool to like write that down as soon as you get done, as soon as it's fresh on your mind. Write it down, like, hey, that 6-hole hitter number 33, like I got way ahead 0-2, hadn't even left the bat off his shoulder, and then I started really nitpicking, trying to get sexy, trying to be cute, and then I got to 3-2, he fouled off 3 pitches, and it's like those are the at bats that I'm thinking as a starter, if I want to go deep in the game, I can't have, because I'm trying to make quick work, especially 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. It just goes into that much detail, right? And then knowing that that routine starts as soon as you come out, log it, and then know that, okay, that's going to be the preparation for my bullpen. Again, this is where it gets different for everybody, but day after, for me, I'm a lift guy. I sleep at the clubhouse, or I try to sleep at the clubhouse day of the start, wake up right when the sun comes up. I can't sleep that good. Walk around the outfield, circadian rhythmicity, ton of water, pink salt. Go get the training in. Training just absolutely jacked. I wear a tank top, 100, and then as soon as I'm done there, I'm gonna listen to my arm. I don't have a set amount of throws. I don't have a set amount of distance on that post start day throwing session. Some days I won't even throw. I'm just listening to my arm, like, okay, what does it want from me? You know, if I'm throwing it and it's going 200 feet pretty easy, like I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just listening to my arm, listening to my body. Of course, I'm gonna be a little worn down, maybe a little bit sore, but there's certain, you know, I believe that you can train your body to handle those specific loads. And then it goes into that second day. For me, second day is maybe a bullpen day. Again, I'm going to listen to my arm depending if I need to push it back another day. But what I will say is I'm not going to sit here and give you that whole routine, but those are kind of some examples of being mindful of a routine and like having that set in place, trial and error. Like, okay, this is that I did this week 1 and this is how I felt, or maybe I need to implement more of this because I felt unequipped in the game, or maybe in my bullpen flat ground series I need to do more of, you know, right on right glove side change-ups because I tried to do it in the game and I didn't feel comfortable with it. All of these kind of things play into it. So again, therobbyrowshow.com/routines bring you to the page in which you can see all the links talked about. I'll include some blog posts that I've done in the past on routines. I'll also include my warm-up routines and my long toss routines, how to throw a lone routine, all of those types of video content that you can see on the website. I'll include it in the description. All right, guys, much love. I hope you get something from this. Again, it's designed for you and only you, meeting your deficiencies, allowing you to get better each and every single day. All right, guys, much love. God bless. Talk to you later.